Hello there, it's the 17th of April 2020 and here you are with Dan in Essex, UK in the Polytunnel. So this year I'm running quite an interesting potato project. So this video is going to be about potatoes. Now I love potatoes, mashed, chips, roast, boiled potatoes. I think they're brilliant. So makes sense for me to grow a lot of them, and I have indeed set a lot this year. I've probably set around 100 tubers, different varieties, growing them in different ways. Now, I've got first earlies, second earlies, main crop and salad potatoes as well. And normally you would set your first earlies, then your second earlies, and then you would set your main crop. But me being me, I've done things a little bit differently, and what I've done is I set them about 3 weeks ago, and I set them all around the same time, all within a few days of each other. So it'll be very interesting to see how this project comes out. So potatoes are very nutritious, introduced to Europe by Walter Riley, such a versatile dish, and have sustained civilizations for many, many years. So let's talk a lot about potatoes. Now, I'm going to show you one way that I'm growing them. So you can see in this polytunnel here, I have some pots. Now, these are 25 to 30 litre pots, something like that. And one variety I'm growing is Swift. Now, apparently these can crop in 7 to 8 weeks under ideal conditions. So doesn't that sound amazing? So I've put either 2 or 3 seed potatoes in each bucket. So you can see this one here, this has got 2 in, and you can see, look, to the right there, just there, and we move to this bucket here, just here and this here, these have germinated, and here as well, this has indeed germinated. So potatoes, they like a temperature of about 15 to 20 degrees C, which I think is about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 65, something like that. You don't want to let your potatoes get too warm whilst they're growing, because what can happen actually is if they get too warm is they can actually stop growing till the temperature is correct and then start growing again. You can get strange shaped tubers from doing this. It's intriguing stuff, which is why now when I was in Southeast Asia a few years ago, I was talking to them about potatoes. They didn't grow them there. Went to the Philippines. They grew sweet potatoes, but not standard potatoes, if you will, certainly in the place where I was. So to me that was very, very interesting. Now I'm growing them in a mixture of mediums, some basic garden soil in some of them, and in others a mix of multi-purpose compost, and just growing mediums I had laying around. I'm not particularly, nothing specific here, so it's interesting. And when I set them, I put a balanced organic fertiliser in there. Now, when you're growing potatoes, you don't want too much in the way of a nitrogen-rich fertiliser. And the reason for that is obvious. I spoke a lot about this with regards to fruit trees as well. Don't want too much nitrogen, because what that can then do is give you lovely big tops of lovely big tops of potatoes, but no tubers underneath, which we actually want the opposite, don't we? We want loads of tubers. That's the idea anyway. So other varieties I'm growing are Red Duke of York. Now that is a second early. So Swift being a first early, Red Duke of York being a second early. I've got trays of peas on the top there. One is running out of space here. And more Red Duke of York here. Now these haven't germinated yet. At least I can't see them. Now another variety I've got is Wilger. Now these are a salad potato, so a bit of variety going on there as well. And there it is. What's that? Yep, there you go. A Wilger has started to germinate. Isn't that fantastic? So the advantage of growing them in a container in a polytunnel is simply it's warmer in here than it is outside. And a few days ago we had some lovely temperatures, I think it went up to about 24 degrees C. I'm sorry I can't do a conversion of that into Fahrenheit, but certainly quite nice and warm for growing potatoes. So I'm expecting at least these Swift to be ready by June. Now wouldn't that be fantastic if that is the case? So I'm thinking, right, I'm going to be saving some of these tubers at the end of the season. I'm going to grow them next year. So if I can find a way of getting the Swift tubers growing really, really early, I could in fact get some really, really early new potatoes next year. And I think that would be a very exciting thing to do. Okay, so in this bed here, this raised bed I made out of 2x4s, I have got Desiree. So these haven't germinated yet, at least not through the top of the soil. And I wouldn't have expected them to, because this part of the garden doesn't get much sun. Probably gets maybe 3 or 4 full hours of sunshine a day, not even that. So a little bit cooler here, less sunshine, and I'm not expecting to germinate so quick. But this here has got, probably about 20 seed potatoes in it. So in this patch here, I have King Edward and Desiree again. Quite a few seed potatoes in here. Now this is standard garden soil, and the soil here is quite light. So it's like, almost like sandy really. Very easy to dig, which is very, very nice. So I'm expecting some nice tubers to be put out here. Now this gets more sun here. Probably about 6 to 7 hours of sunshine a day. So I'm expecting germination to be a little bit quicker here than in the raised bed I showed you just now. In fact, I've just noticed my first potato here germinating. This is a Desiree, okay, and it's just sticking its nose above, if you will, the soil top there. Yes, Desiree. So make sure you label your varieties, as I sort of recommend people do. Particularly nice with, you know, things like, well, everything really, but potatoes, if you're wanting to save your own seed potatoes for the following year, which is what I really want to get into. So there you go, that's the basis of the project. So some of you are probably wondering, why did he put them all in around the same time? That's not the normal thing to do, and it's not. And this is partly an experiment to see, with a relatively small amount of effort, to see what can be got. Now I'm not expecting to be getting big potatoes here, okay, particularly the ones outside, because here in this part of the UK we tend to get relatively dry summers. Now of course I do intend to water them, but the fact that it's combined with relatively dry summers and light soil, which doesn't hold the moisture particularly well, could result in smaller tubers. And also I haven't removed any of the eyes or whatever, because if you remove some of the eyes you can get bigger potatoes but less of them. I haven't done that. I've simply just chucked them all in, okay, to see what happens. So the watering that I'm going to be doing here in the polytunnel, I've decided I'm going to be doing heavy watering of all of these twice a week. All of these potatoes in here. So the Swift, Red Duke of York and the Wilger. So I'm going to be, you know, really watering them deep. So it'll be interesting to see just how everything in here comes on as a comparison. So I'm expecting this project to be quite exciting and quite interesting and quite, you know, basically growing potatoes for sustenance really, because as I stated before, societies have been sustained on potatoes. So it's a very nice thing to do. So with regards to, you know, the YouTube channel, I want to keep, you know, making informative videos. I'm still limited by time constraints, because as we all are, one cannot devote the time to YouTube that they would like to ultimately. But you know, that's how things are, and you know, we accept that. But a lot has been revealed to me over the last few weeks, as indeed it probably has to many other people. And I think growing potatoes could be a very useful thing for us to all get into. So anyway, that's the potato project. If you've got any comments, questions, whatevers, please feel free to post below. And you can check me out on Dan_Home_Gardens on Instagram if indeed you are interested. And one more thing I'm going to be doing is watering the potatoes growing here in the polytunnel with a balanced fertiliser every 2 weeks throughout the season. So again, we'll see what happens. Thanks for viewing. See you next time.